The Rolling Stones, Start Me Up. It's one of my favorite people in studio.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Sanjeev Mantri, Executive Director at ICICI Lombard. How are you?
All good, Hrishi. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much for getting me here.
Yeah, I remember since the last time you came in here, you've been motivating me to lose some weight, and I have to hand it to you. For 3 months, I really behaved myself. I lost 10.5 kgs, but you'd be very unhappy to know that I'm slowly gaining them back.
Yes, I can say there's some more scope on this side.
Some more scope. Let's today start about talking about Indian tourism trends. There's some very interesting trends that you have noticed, Sanjeev.
Yeah, clearly, you can all notice actually the number of time people are going overseas these days. As per the data that is being made available to us, Hrishi, there are almost 25 million people who have traveled out of India for an overseas holiday. By 2020, it's expected to go to almost 50 million. So there's a huge surge in people going to different parts of the world, enjoying themselves. Another critical trend that is quite evident is the exotic holidays people are seeking. The number of searches that happen to go to Gold Coast in Australia or to go to Hanoi in Vietnam or Prague. So people are becoming more and more exotic in terms of covering multiple locations. Another piece which is very, very interesting is that the millennials who are traveling typically end up not going to one country when they travel. Probably when we used to travel, Rishi will say, okay, we'll go to one location, be it London, hang in there for a while and come back. But now they want to cover multiple countries. So there is enough and more that's happening in terms of the Indian tourism. And yes, Indians are traveling a lot more than they used to in the past.
Yeah, actually, Sanjeev's team has sent some very interesting numbers. I'm going to add on to what he has just said. This is the travel aggregator Skyscanner in their publication Skyscanner Travel Trends for 2018. This has noticed an average increase of 80% in search from Indian travelers. So we're talking Gold Coast in Australia, which Sanjeev just talked about, 142%. Hanoi, Vietnam, 81%. Prague, Czech Republic, 71%. So fascinating stuff there. And in the midst of all this, there's obviously a need for travel insurance clearly felt by Indian travelers, Sanjeev.
Clearly, I think there's one critical requirement that exists when you travel overseas is that you need to have travel insurance. You'll be surprised, Hrishi, when I keep hearing, even with my own friends who are very much educated, living a very professional life, traveling very extensively, saying that they've gone to this and this place. My next question is, did you take travel insurance? And they end up saying, no, we didn't. And then they say, what was the need? Nothing will happen to me. And interestingly, a study that we have done among the number of claims that we have seen so far, clearly all problems are agnostic to which age you belong to. You can have health issues, you can have accidents, you can have probably in an emergency, you can have trips getting cancelled. A lot of things can happen. Like giving you an example just to make my point, what happened in Bali because of volcano eruption led to cancellations, flight delays. People could not move out for 1 week to 10 days from that particular place. Now in that sort of an exigency, it doesn't matter which age group you belong to. Irrespective of what or where you are, travel insurance is a must. To me, what's more interesting is the price of a travel insurance is not beyond $20 to $50. So what are we talking of? Vis-a-vis the losses that can come on account of health issues, on account of loss of baggage, and on account of flight cancellation, or an accident that anyone can face any point of time. So clearly, there is no other way to travel overseas. Travel insurance is a key requirement.
Sanjeev Mantri from ICICI Lombard. Right after this song, it's Shakin' Stevens, You Drive Me Crazy. Shakin' Stevens, I'm glad that he's driving you crazy on our playlist. Sanjeev Mantri from ICICI Lombard is here. They've been avid supporters and Get Some Sun through the season, and this is season 5. A really important episode, a conversation with him about the need for travel insurance.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Okay, now there's a very interesting survey that ICICI Lombard conducted across 10 cities, and I want you to tell me about what are the major concerns that Indian travelers have, or what do they cite?
Certainly, Hrishi. So, some of the major things that came out in the survey was almost 50% of them felt that personal accident can be a cause of challenge when they're in an international location. 7% of almost people said that they have a problem with respect to baggage loss. 31% almost feared hospitalization. 46% of the respondents said that loss of baggage can be a prime concern. So there are enough and more apprehensions in their mind when they're traveling overseas in terms of what can get inflicted on them. And also some of the locations which are slightly more worrisome, slightly more risky, they believe that if they have a travel insurance for those places, they'll be more comfortable in terms of going and visiting those places, which otherwise they won't. So
that's a fascinating survey. So you're actually saying that if it's a trouble-torn area, even if there's conflict in their area, they feel security when they get that travel insurance.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love Lovely. So, like you said previously, medical emergencies, baggage and passport loss are things that, you're buying travel insurance for. Would cancel flight charges also be one of the reasons?
They are also covered, yes. Cancel flight is another critical requirement, whereby suppose you get stuck in Bali and there's a cost that is coming on account of rebooking. Definitely insurance can come in handy and you can be reimbursed some critical amount which will take care of the losses.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is we had about 65 flights even grounded domestically because of engine trouble. If you noticed last month. That's a very, very important aspect that one needs to cover. So the claims data, can you run me through that, especially with regards health related risks?
Yes, clearly. So we have access to a lot of claims data, and almost 12 to 15% is on account of accidents that the customer face. Then we have health related problem for almost 10 to 15% again. Loss of baggage is a very common thing. We all have gone through this mess, isn't it, Hrishi, where your baggage has got delayed. Sometimes they missed getting your baggage altogether. The baggages get lost. The losses that happen. So you go through a lot of challenge for the personal loss of belonging, and then comes the financial loss along with it. All of that can be taken care of. More importantly, something which I mentioned, we have realized there's no connection of age vis-a-vis what things can go wrong, because these are the losses which can come to you agnostic to which age group you belong to. In fact, we've seen lots of youngsters who travel overseas, Hrishi, end up having health problem. Gastro issues can come up. You can have food can react badly. You may require hospitalization. The average cost on account of hospitalization can go up to 1 to 1.5 lakhs when you get into trouble in places like Europe or US. And also personal accident, the average loss in terms of getting a customer back can go to 25 to 30 lakhs. If I narrate to an incident which will explain how freakishly things can go wrong. There were some couples who were traveling to Egypt, and while having a camel ride, there was a fall from the camel which took place. Consequent to that, the person vertebra got impacted, L1 got impacted. There was no way the treatment could have been done there because the medical facilities available there were not appropriate enough. So we had to evacuate the person, get that person back to Bombay. The cost of that is almost $50,000. Fortunately, the person had travel insurance, so that could come out handy. So in our mind, things can go wrong. The cost is $20-50, but the outflow, in case you have not taken an adequate cover, can go to amounts like $50,000 to maybe $1,00,000. So how do you manage that? It's just disproportionately very high.
Messages and back with Sanjeev Mantri from ICICI Lombard. A Maroon 5 hit called Sugar. Sanjeev Mantri, Executive Director at ICICI Lombard. Never a dull moment when he's in studio. More conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So Sanjeev, you were telling me that a typical medical claim in the US can cost you anywhere between 1.75 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs, and there is a little bit of a difference in the Schengen region. And you gave me an interesting example, unfortunate example of somebody whose spine was impacted and they had to have an air ambulance arranged. Luckily, they had travel insurance. Any other examples of people caught with some kind of diseases or illness while their foreign travel happened?
Yes, Hrishi, I can share another incident in Australia, which is supposed to be one of the best places when it comes to the ecosystem, the hygiene that they follow. But one of the customer who had traveled to Australia suddenly started experiencing high fever, had vomiting, dysuria. Initial clinical examinations kind of told us that there is some bit of infection in blood and urine, leading to eventually urosepsis. Now, this is something which is very chaotic. This requires multiple tests. You got to get admitted in a hospital, go through the whole process. Besides being in a place which you are not certain because the variables are just existing in multiple manner. The cost of getting this whole of treatment covered was almost $7,500. Now that's really that's a lot of money to go when you are on a holiday for something which is critical but is not part of your plans. So all that sort of a cash flows can be arranged through an insurance. A cashless settlement can be done, and what we have done is we have tied up with global experts in terms of organizations who can manage this sort of a thing. You can reach out to us by calling us. We have got specific numbers for USA and Europe requirement, or you can give a missed call to us. We can call you back whichever part of the world you are in, and ensure that those experts come in and give you all the assistance that is required and guide you through the process to save the day, or maybe even your own health.
Let's come back to some basics, Sanjeev. Allow me to ask you to be the dictionary for us. But what really is travel insurance?
Certainly, Hrishi. Travel insurance takes care of medical as well as non-medical perils which an insurer can have, whether on a business trip or on a pleasure trip. Medical covers include hospitalizations due to sudden illness and injuries, as well as treatment taken on outpatient basis. Medical evacuation, personal accident, and repatriations of remains are also covered, by the way. trip related perils like trip cancellation and interruption and trip delays due to various contingencies, baggage related covers like total loss of checked in baggage, delay of checked in baggage, loss of baggage on personal effects are also covered. In it, probably another feature which I can add is we provide for financial emergencies in these cases. Now hijack, loss of passport can be covered. Personal liability, fire and burglary at the place of residence while one is traveling can also be taken cover. So there are multiple covers that are available on the travel insurance which can help the traveler in a significant way.
After this song, we're going to come back and Sanjeev is going to tell us the types of travel insurance policies one can purchase. Here are the Chainsmokers and Everybody Hates Me. The Chainsmokers, Everybody Hates Me. Sanjeev Mantri, Executive Director at ICICI Lombard, on the types of travel insurance policies now.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So yeah, you explained, you're very kind to explain what travel insurance really is. The types of policies that one can purchase, Sanjeev.
So there is an option available, Rishi, where you can buy for single trip if you're not a frequent traveler. But if you're traveling very frequently, maybe 3-4 times in a year, what I suggest is you buy a cover which is available for 1 year. That kind of saves you from the administrative trouble of picking up a policy every time you are traveling. Now, in terms of the multiple trip that you buy for 1 year, what you can do is you can pick up duration where you can buy for 30 days, 45 days or 60 days. So every time you're traveling for that particular period, you will get the coverage. In my sense, most of us who travel very frequently pick up the 1 year one. It really is hassle free. It saves you for the complete administrative hassle.
And the coverage, in terms of the coverage that these policies offer, would you break it down into how much is for loss of baggage, baggage loss cover, cancellation, interruption, missed flight cancellation, and of course personal liability?
Yeah, so in terms of buying the policy, first thing first, I think from 3 months to any age limit, travel insurance available. That's first point. Secondly, almost up to $500,000 is what the coverage can come, which is on account of medical requirement or even the medical evacuation cost that comes with it. For loss of baggage, you can get covered up to $2,000. You can have $500 coverage for trip cancellation on account of the change of ticketing that happens, and you can take a personal liability cover also, which can go up to $100,000. So there are multiple options that are available, and there are multiple plans which are made available. Some of them are basic plans, some of them are platinum plans, which are far more larger amounts. So whatever suits to you for you as a traveler, I suggest you should pick it up. But that being said, do make sure that you buy your travel insurance when you're traveling.
Sanjeev, there are also some off the beaten path covers. It's like the road less traveled. Tell us about those categories.
So now, from ICICI Lombard perspective, we do give insurance policy for concierge service, wherein we offer assistance service such as doctor appointments, assistance with regard to your electrical plumbing requirements at home when for your dependents who are who are in India, who do not have access to you while you're traveling overseas. We can also cover the political risk or the catastrophic evacuation up to $7,500, which also can happen in certain cases. I spoke about it in terms of the catastrophic event that happened in Bali, which created with the example which I spoke some time back. We can also give coverage to burglary happening in your house up to the extent of 10 lakhs when you are out of country, or even give you home content, the losses which can happen at that point of time when you are out of country. So there are those multiple options that are there when you're visiting overseas, and in the case of an exigency where something happens, to get the person back, the mortals back in the country, there's an expense involved that also can be specifically covered. So there are those specific unique features which are there which can help you in case things go wrong.
Up ahead, how can one purchase travel insurance, and Sanjeev's exciting life whereby he meets some of the greatest sports people in the world. We're both sports fans. We're going to chat about that before we say bye-bye. Pictures as well as some videos of Sanjeev Mantri hanging in studio coming up on Twitter as well as Facebook. It's at HRISHIKOY on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and facebook.com/radio1.mum. Those are also platforms where you can leave any comments. I'm happy to read them out on air, or one space your comment and name to 53650. See you in a bit. Some reggae in the form of Inner Circle and Bad Boys. Hardly Bad Boys. Sanjeev Mantri and yours truly in studio. He's Executive Director at ICICI Lombard. A last leg of conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So, have to round up with where and how can one purchase travel insurance from, Sanjeev?
Oh, that's very simple, Rishi. All you got to do is log on to our site www.icicilombard.com, and you can probably finish the process in just about 10 to 15 minutes. That's all it takes. So it's quick, easy and smart. You can actually do this when you're sitting at the airport waiting for boarding the flight. So the whole process is very easy. All you got to do is give your passport number, put in your basic details which are available with you, and the online document that you get is valid enough to make claims in the event of an exigency. So from our perspective, we have made it as easy as possible, and in the event of you making a claim, all you got to do is give your policy number as well as your passport number, and will ensure that your claim is taken care of. So it's hassle free, it's online. Besides this, of course, when you're buying with your travel agent or you're contacting anybody else, you can always request them. We've got tie-ups with all of them where you will be getting ICICI Lombard insurance policy.
And it's very important to note that one needs to purchase the policy while one is in India. That is before departing for the foreign land.
That is critical. You cannot buy policy once you're overseas. Your coverage has to start before you board a flight from India. That is a critical requirement, Hrishi, yes.
Well, before you go, I mean, I have to say, if you weren't a friend of mine, I'd be mighty jealous of you. Goran Ivanisevic, my God, I remember him winning Wimbledon, and some of those serves one couldn't even sight. And you played some tennis with him. Where was this and how did this happen?
Well, yes, we were on a trip to Melbourne and got a chance to play with him. What a man he is. I think for us, and Hrishi, you share that thing. Any sportsman who has converted an activity into an art and probably they've excelled in it, we start worshipping it. For me, meeting a legend himself was phenomenal. Someone who picked up Wimbledon. It was great to understand his own journey in terms of how he ended up winning, because he had a wild card entry that year, and from there on to go and win. I think it's first of its kind where someone with a wild card entry ended up winning the Wimbledon. So in terms of being jealous, I think, Hrishikesh, I'm more jealous of you. You are among celebrities all the time, and there are few occasions you meet ordinary people like me, isn't it?
You're a kind man. Also, I have to say, it's appalling the kind of controversy that's happening and the ball tampering that the Bancroft and Steve Smith as well as David Warner have indulged in. Something that Steve Waugh would have been ashamed of, and you know that because you've spent some time with Steve.
Yes, I did meet him. They play it very hard, but they play quite fairly, and I think that's the way you want to play every single sport, isn't it? There's no intent to cheat. You just want to try your best, and eventually, I think sports is amazing. You may lose, but you'll never be a loser, because you'll get up next day again and probably start working hard and see if you can beat it. I like what I read Maria Sharapova's Unstoppable, her autobiography, and it was phenomenal to see how she said that you got to be sharp enough, but you got to be dumb enough to make sure that you are ready when you're playing your next ball, when you're playing your next match. So there is clearly a sense of shock when I heard what has gone through, and the fact that they've admitted there is reality. It's not even speculative whether they did that or not. To me, it's unfortunate, but such things will happen. There's too much going on in terms of what happens in commercial sports. They play it professionally. There's so much involved. But winning at all counts is not really fair. You got to balance it out, and hopefully this will also pass and cricket will stay what it is supposed to be.
Well, a man who learns his vital lessons from sport is always open. My doors are always open for him. Sanjeev Mantri, absolute pleasure. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hrishi. It was a pleasure being on 94.3 Radio 1. Thank you so much.
Soul Asylum, Runaway Train.